Thomas is ready. We're ready.
I'm ready. Yeah.
I asked this question of Tyler. You know that you're a competitive guy. Last year, Caldwell was but still your group, not what you probably would have wanted. A lot of injuries. How driven are you to take this group to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we want to do what we can do to put the team in the best position to win. And I thought there were times where, we didn't help DJ out up front and the skill around him, and so it's 11 guys doing their job, right? We say all the time, do your 111. So we're very driven, and more importantly, the guys up front are very driven. We've had a great summer. Those guys, they hear the noise too. They're very driven. They want to make a statement with this season as well. So I think it's been a great off season, and they're ready to go.
What's something that the offensive line group has improved on the most in the spring, and what's your point of emphasis as we head into fall camp?
I think we tried to slow it down a little bit in some of our install, collaborated well with the defense and trying to get back to some of the basics and the fundamentals and the techniques of the position, which is what you do every offseason. And so I think those guys have really bought into some of that. Some of those techniques are new and different from what they've done in the past, and we've changed a few things in our offense, and so some of the techniques are going to change as a result of that. So I think for us, it's kind of hitting that reset button, getting back to the fundamentals and techniques, and then going into the summer, it's having veteran leadership that can go implement that plan throughout the summer, because we can't be there with them during skills and drills. And so I think those guys have really stepped up to the challenge.
Thomas, can you update on maybe just a health of the line as a whole, and particularly Pennington? How's he doing, and what's your sort of outlook for him?
Yeah, well, we're all 100% right now. After the spring, they did they call it the gauntlet. They did an evaluation, like functional movement screening on guys, and tested shoulders, knees, ankles, mobility, hip. And so they've done a kind of a prehab program this summer that guys are really responding well to. So Dietrich is progressing well. He's been completely cleared for his knee, and so he's feeling more and more comfortable and confident. And so we're gonna bring him along as fast as we can. It's even if you're 100% cleared, the pounding of football practice every day is going to be something he hasn't really had yet, and so we definitely need to make sure we monitor that and bring him along, in a healthy way.
Is Mitchell Mays kind of the guy that will roll out there first at right guard to start camp?
Right now we have Brian and Mitchell both slotted as starters, and so our first practice, it'll be, if Mitchell's the first guy, Brian's the second, and then the next period one of them's going to take the ones reps, one will take the twos, and they'll alternate every single time. The benefit that we have is our two deep defensive line, there's very little drop off. So whether a guy's taking first team reps or second team reps, he's going against great players. So we will evaluate. We evaluate every part of practice, and every day we'll roll out the guy that graded out better will be the first guy out there. We do want it to mean something for that guy to be the first guy in the flex lines, the first guy in practice, and then really when you get into your scrimmage situations is when sometimes guys separate themselves even more, because we're off the field. It's not as controlled environment. You let them play and see who can kind of distance themselves a little bit.
Is Blake Miller doing both tackles right now?
He's been cross training this. Yes, ma'am. He's been cross training this spring. Blake. For young guys like Blake and Colin, you want to kind of leave them in one spot and let them get used to the offense. And then because of our lack of depth right there in the spring game and some sickness that we had, he had to play both sides. That was the first time he's played. So he's been cross training all summer at both tackle spots.
You got to make sure that you kind of move into that. Kind of right there as a coach starter.
Brian Tucker, yeah. I mean, he's I think Mitchell and Brian and Trent, those guys, and John Williams, third year in the system, third year in the offense, third year in our strength program. Tucker has physical tools. He's a big, strong guy. He can move people. And so for him, it's understanding the offense and the finer details of it. So I think from a mental standpoint, he's taken that next step, which is what's really helped him. And then a guy like Mitchell has worked really hard, but he's also been kind of a putty guy, played tackle and guard. And so we tried to leave him at guard as much as we could for the spring to give him a fair shot, and see how he feels. In the same way, John was a tackle this time last year that ended up playing guard and was doing really well before he got hurt.
you've got to make sure Putt gets his reps to get ready for Georgia Tech. But who are the guys you got to bring along behind him, and how do you make sure they all get the reps that they need?
Yeah, so right now, kind of Trent Howard and Ryan Lithicum are both taking second and third team reps, and so those guys have had a really good offseason. They're both really had a high commitment level, so we've been pleased with that. So similar to Brian and Mitchell, those guys will rotate who gets the second, third team reps. And that's exactly right. You want to get, put him as many reps as you can and get him ready, but also other opportunities to maybe throw one of those guys out there with the first team. Again, the good thing is we have a lot of depth on the defensive line, so there's not a big drop off from that first to second team guy. So whoever's getting those reps is getting to go against a good opponent. So that helps.
As far as Marcus Tate still partially tackled, or is he all mostly guard?
Well, he's going to get as many reps as he can at guard. Jordan McFadden's a fifth-year guy, and so there might be some pockets in this fall where we just kind of slide him out a little bit and put Tristan in there, give Tristan some first-team reps, get Marcus out there a little bit, because that's always last year was you always as an indicator that injuries can happen and will happen, and so who is your next best tackle if something were to happen to Jordan or Will Putnam? What's your next option? Is it Tristan? Is it Blake? Is it slide Marcus out there? So that's the benefit of cross training is you get to see guys playing multiple positions. But he's going to be our starting left guard. It looks like unless something changes and some other guy comes along. And so you want to make sure he is feeling really confident at that position.
When you talk about being a freshman playing left guard like he was last year, how difficult is that? How much do you think he learned next year?
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't get any harder than going against Georgia, game one, right? They had some great players. So I think he really learned a lot about himself and the ups and downs and playing big time college football, right? So I think he's in a really good headspace. He's a committed guy. It means a lot to him, and so he doesn't want to let the team down. And so I think it's gonna this year. It's gonna be his mindset's gonna be completely different. I think it's gonna really pay off for him.
I know you can't talk about specific recruits, just going out and recruiting. Obviously, it's going pretty well. What's that been like getting back on the road, and what's kind of your message been? Do you feel like it's been working so well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly been encouraging to see that our brand is strong and that our message resonates with the right guys and the right families. So, yeah, I was, with all this NIL